I'll never forget the day my nephew Chris came to stay with us. I was thrilled. Chris was always such a joy to be around, funny, charming, and always ready with a joke. But as the days passed, I began to notice a shift in his behavior. His glances lingered, his touch lingered. There was a tension in the air, a strange energy that I couldn't quite place. At first I dismissed it. Teenagers can be awkward, and I was just a young woman in my 20s. But as the days turned into weeks, his behavior became more pronounced. One afternoon, while we were alone, he put down his controller and turned to me. His voice was barely a whisper, but his eyes held a question. "Can I ask you something?" he murmured. I nodded, my heart pounding in my chest. There was an intensity in his gaze, a mix of longing and uncertainty. "Do you think we could be more than just uncle and niece?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I was stunned. I had felt a connection, a spark, but I never imagined he would articulate it so directly. My mind raced a whirlwind of confusion and a strange sense of excitement. I managed to stammer, my mind racing to comprehend his words. He leaned in the space between us, shrinking to almost nothing. His eyes sparkled with a sincerity that set my heart pounding. I feel something special between us," he confessed, his voice a soft whisper. "When we're alone, I can't stop thinking about you." A wave of emotions crashed over me. Flattery, confusion, and a sense of dread washed over me. I admired his honesty, but the reality of our situation was undeniable. "Chris, we can't think like that," I replied gently, my voice trembling slightly. "We're family." He looked at me, his eyes filled with a mix of disappointment and longing. "Why not?" he asked, leaning in closer. "It feels right, doesn't it?" A flutter of excitement stirred within me, but I quickly suppressed it. This was dangerous territory, a path I couldn't afford to tread. "We can't," I insisted, my voice firm. "It's wrong." As the days turned into weeks, our conversations deepened, becoming more intimate and personal. We shared secrets, dreams, and vulnerabilities, and I found myself drawn to him in a way I never thought possible. It was both exhilarating and terrifying, a forbidden dance that pushed the boundaries of our relationship. One evening, as we watched a movie together, he reached for my hand. My heart pounded as our fingers intertwined. A rush of warmth and a pang of fear coursed through me. "We shouldn't do this," I whispered, my voice barely audible. He looked at me, his expression serious. "I can't help how I feel," he admitted. "I've wanted to kiss you for so long." His confession sent shockwaves through me. I was torn between the thrill of the forbidden and the knowledge that we were crossing a line that could never be undone. The next day, every interaction felt charged with unspoken words. I could see the desire burning in his eyes, a longing that mirrored my own. Could I truly allow myself to feel this way about my nephew? One afternoon, he reached out and gently brushed my hair behind my ear. His touch sent electric shivers down my spine. "I've thought about this moment a lot," he confessed, his gaze intense, overwhelmed by a whirlwind of emotions. I struggled to find my voice. "Chris, please," I pleaded, my voice trembling. "We need to set boundaries." But deep down I acknowledged the pull of my own desires. The tension between us grew stronger with each passing day. Despite my best efforts to focus on work, my mind was constantly drawn to him. It was as if an invisible force was pulling us closer, defying logic and reason. I felt a strange mix of guilt and excitement, a dangerous cocktail of emotions. One evening we found ourselves alone. Once more the atmosphere was thick with unspoken desires. "What if we just kissed?" he whispered, his eyes filled with longing and uncertainty. My heart pounded in my chest. It felt so wrong, yet so right. I hesitated, battling with my conscience. "Chris, we shouldn't," I managed to say, my voice barely audible. But as I gazed into his eyes, I felt a part of me yearning to give in. In a moment of reckless abandon, he leaned in, and our lips met in a soft, tentative kiss. A rush of emotions flooded through me, a mix of excitement and fear. It was a forbidden moment, A dangerous indulgence. What are we doing? I pulled away breathless and terrified. We need to think about this. The pain in his eyes was palpable, and it pierced my heart. I know it's complicated, he admitted softly, his gaze fixed on mine, but I can't stop thinking about you. I don't want to hide how I feel. His honesty was both refreshing and terrifying. I could feel the intensity of his feelings, a fire burning within him that mirrored my own. For weeks we danced around our emotions, caught in a delicate dance of longing and uncertainty. There were moments of stolen glances and secret touches, followed by periods of distance and doubt. The emotional turmoil was exhausting, a constant battle between heart and mind. Eventually I realized I couldn't ignore my feelings any longer. The connection between us was too strong to deny. I yearned to explore this forbidden territory, but the risks were clear. How would our families react? What would happen if things went wrong? One day, as we sat on the porch, I took a deep breath. Chris, I can't pretend anymore I like you, but we need to be careful. A flicker of hope ignited in his eyes and my heart skipped a beat. I want to explore this, but we have to be responsible, he replied, a gentle smile playing on his lips. I promise to be careful. I don't want to lose you. A wave of relief washed over me. It was a terrifying step, but it felt right. As the summer unfolded, our bond deepened. We shared laughter, dreams, and vulnerabilities, forging a connection that transcended the boundaries of our relationship. Of course, there were challenges, the judgment of others, the expectations of our families, and the constant fear of discovery. But with each passing day, my confidence grew. Chris became my confidant, my partner in crime, and my closest friend. Yet the doubts lingered. What if we were caught? What if this relationship changed everything? These thoughts haunted me, but they couldn't overshadow the happiness I found in his company. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon painting the sky in hues of gold and pink, I turned to Chris. I'm scared about what this means for us, I confessed. He took my hand, his grip firm and reassuring. We'll figure it out together, he said, his voice steady. As long as we're honest and open, we can make this work. His confidence was a balm to my soul, and I knew I'd made the right choice in embracing my feelings. As we held each other, I realized that no matter what challenges lay ahead, I was ready to face them with Chris. By my side, our bond had deepened beyond my wildest dreams, and I yearned to explore its depths. The days that followed were a whirlwind of emotions. We shared secret glances and whispered conversations, our connection growing stronger with each passing moment. Whenever we were alone, the air crackled with tension, and a flutter of excitement filled my chest. We'd find any excuse to be together, stealing moments of intimacy when we thought no one was watching. One afternoon, as we prepared lunch in the kitchen, Chris stood close behind me, his presence sending shivers down my spine. You know, I can't stop thinking about you, he murmured, his breath warm on my neck. I turned to face him, my heart pounding. I think about you too, I confessed, a rush of vulnerability washing over me. His eyes lit up, and a genuine smile spread across his face, melting my heart. We both knew we were crossing lines, but the pull between us was irresistible. Can I kiss you again? He asked, his voice low and hopeful. I nodded, a mix of excitement and fear coursing through me. Our lips met this time with more urgency. The kiss deepened, and I lost myself in the moment, the outside world fading away. It was just us, wrapped in a bubble of pure emotion. Our kisses became a secret ritual, a thrilling and terrifying experience. The fear of discovery was always present, but in those stolen moments, only Chris and I existed. One night, as we lay in the darkness, sharing our dreams and hopes, a sense of peace washed over me. What do you want to do after the summer? I asked. He paused, then said, I want to be close to you, no matter where we are. His words filled my heart with warmth and hope. His confidence washed over me, and I knew I'd made the right choice in embracing my feelings. As we held each other, I realized that no matter what challenges lay ahead, I was ready to face them with Chris by my side. Our bond had deepened beyond my wildest dreams, and I was eager to explore it fully. The days that followed were a whirlwind of emotions. Our glances lingered, our conversations grew intimate, and our connection intensified with each passing moment. Whenever we were alone, the air crackled with unspoken desire and butterflies fluttered in my stomach. We sought out stolen moments, stealing glances, and hushed conversations whenever we thought no one was watching. As summer drew to a close, the harsh reality of our separate lives set in. Chris would be returning home, and a wave of anxiety washed over me. I didn't want to lose what we had built together. We promised to stay in touch, and as we hugged goodbye, I whispered, "I'll always be here for you." He pulled back his eyes, holding a steady gaze. "I'll always be here for you too," he replied. The weeks that followed were a mix of longing and hope. We texted and called, sharing updates about our lives. Despite the distance, our connection remained strong, but as the days turned into months, the reality of our situation began to sink in. The longing for him grew stronger. With each passing day, I missed the warmth of his embrace, the sound of his laughter. One evening, as I sat alone in my room, reflecting on our shared memories, a surge of determination filled me. I couldn't let our bond fade away. After weeks of careful planning, I found myself on a bus, my heart pounding with a mix of excitement and nerves. What would I say? How would he react? But deep down I knew I had to see him. When I finally arrived, my heart raced as I approached his house. I knocked on the door, and moments later Chris opened it. His face lit up with surprise and joy. "You're here," he exclaimed, pulling me into a warm embrace. "I missed you," I whispered, my voice muffled against his shoulder. He stepped back, his eyes wide with disbelief. "I can't believe you actually came." We spent the weekend catching up, reminiscing about our shared memories. It felt like no time had passed at all. Every moment was filled with laughter, tenderness, and a rekindled spark. On the last night of my visit, we sat under the starlight sky just like we had that summer. A wave of nostalgia washed over me as the memories flooded back. "Promise me, we won't lose this," I said, my gaze locked on his. "No matter where life takes us." He nodded, his expression serious. "I promise. I want this as much as you do." As we shared a tender kiss, the world around us faded away. In that moment I knew we had something special, something worth fighting for, no matter the challenges that lay ahead. I was determined to keep our connection alive. As I returned home, my heart was filled with hope. I knew our journey was just beginning, and I was ready to embrace whatever came next with Chris. By my side, I felt invincible, capable of anything. But as time marched on, life began to pull us in different directions. We grew older, taking on new responsibilities, meeting new people, and forging new paths. Chris and I remained close, but the intensity of our connection faded into something more distant. We still cared deeply for each other, but the spark that once ignited between us had dwindled. Eventually, Chris met someone else. She was kind, intelligent, and made him happy. In a way I knew. I couldn't. At first, a pang of jealousy shot through me. But as I watched him flourish in his new relationship, I realized that it was a natural part of life. We both needed to find our own paths, even if it meant not being together in the way we had once imagined. I too found love. He was gentle, supportive, and offered me the love I had been searching for. It wasn't the same as what I had felt for Chris, but it was real, solid, and enduring. Our love grew organically, and soon enough we were planning our future together. Chris and I drifted apart as we built our own lives. We still saw each other at family gatherings, exchanging polite smiles and nods. But the deep connection we once shared had settled into a quiet understanding. We both knew that our time together, while precious, was just a chapter in our larger life story. As the years passed, we both married and found happiness with our respective partners. In the end, that was enough. I often look back on the days with Chris, smiling at the memory of our intense connection. I know that what we shared was special, but I also know that we made the right choices. Our story didn't end the way we once thought it would, but it ended the way it was meant to. Life took us on different journeys, but we both found happiness in the paths we chose.